Okay. All right. Well, we're back for week 2, episode 2, and week 1 was pretty interesting.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, you got some feedback. How was your feedback?
Feedback. Let me read some feedback. Now, all constructive, right?
Okay.
Let me see if I can find it here. But I had a couple of interesting ones. I had a gentleman named Wayne McCormick on Facebook. He said, and he's agreeing with someone else who was critical of the show.
Okay.
He said, I have to agree, Bob. This man is lost. Why are you treating him like an equal? 2 Corinthians 6:14 through 16. Do not be unequally yoked together with unbelievers. For what fellowship has righteousness with lawlessness, and what communion has light with darkness? What accord has Christ with Belial? Or what part has a believer with an unbeliever? And what agreement has the temple of God with idols? For you're the temple of the living God, as God has said, I will dwell in them and walk among them. I will be their God, they shall be my people. So he says, the big issue isn't Trump, who I support. He said, what's a 70-year-old man worth billions care about building his brand? He knows he can't take it with him. No, it's Islam. Wayne, I remember when we used to be neighbors. And those were good days, 25, 35 years ago. I'm doing this. I probably view Scripture a little bit different than you do. And the first scriptures that come to my mind are John 3:16 and 17. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever would believe on him would not perish, but have everlasting life. But the smoking gun of Scripture, I think, for Christianity is John 3:17. For God sent not his Son into the world to condemn the world, but that the world through him might be saved. So, Wayne, I mean, brother, I love you, but we have a fundamental disagreement here. Emphasis on the word fundamental. So that's one.
Okay.
And then I got something from Michael B. Hardy. And this one has a little different tone. He said, hey, I listened to the first one, and I have to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you both. I was born and raised in the Deep South with an upbringing that taught religious bigotry and exclusivity. Anyone who wasn't like us and didn't abide by the same beliefs were heathens and an abomination to God. I've really had to fight that mindset over the years as I've broken away from those things that were instilled in me and started trying to live loved by Jesus and to try and see things in people the way he does. With this first podcast, chains that have held me captive in regards to the way I view Muslims have begun to break. There's many questions I have in regards to global terrorism, torture, and killing in the name of Islam, and also Sharia law. I really hope you both discuss these things in greater detail and how normal or God-fearing Muslims like your brother navigate life in that evil shadow. God bless you both as you make your journey available to all of us. So
Very nice.
that to me was very encouraging for a man to say that he felt as if chains that had been on him from the way he was raised. He was raised, probably in the buckle of the Bible Belt in the Deep South. Mm-hmm. And he experienced teaching that told him that people that are different from us, go into this category. And so for him to say that those chains are coming off, that was a big deal to me. What do you think?
Well, first I think it's good for our listeners to get some idea. You and I do not prep for this show.
We don't.
We don't sit together, talk about all the issues, and say, I'm going to ask you this, you're going to answer this way, and you're going to do that, and I'm going to do this, and so on and so forth. So everything you've said to me this morning is new to me, correct?
Right.
And likelihood, 95% of what you're going to be presenting today is going to be new to me.
Oh, yes, it is.
And whatever my rebut or whatever I have questions for you are going to be new to you.
Right.
Now, we have had talks and chats about a lot of issues, and so we know some of our opinions on things. But insofar as how we're prepping for our show or sitting down and talking, we don't know what's going to come at us, okay? And I think that's one very authentic point people need to understand, okay? Insofar as the criticism's concerned, it concerned me that there were Christians that have that extreme view about just simply sitting down at a table and talking.
Right.
Clearly, many Christians don't feel that way, okay? And they're willing to sit and talk, and especially like what you did, share something you believe is good for the world, right? How do you share your faith if you're wanting to, convert a person over or guide them into the light, my God, you're going to have to break bread with them. And Jesus did sit with the sick and those that were needing of healing.
Listen,
not those that were, on a straight path.
One of the big criticisms of Jesus during his life by the religious leaders, the Pharisees, the Sadducees, so on and so forth, was, why are you associating with those people?
Right. Whether they were adulterers and they were
whatever they
that,
were,
money changers. Anyway, the point being this: one is, I would think that a believing Christian who really utterly believes in the gospel, it's the good news. So you'd want to share good news.
Sure.
Okay. Now, my answer to that is the Muslims have an answer too. I mean, John 3:16 and so on and so forth. The Quran came out with obviously an answer to that, and it's I'll say it in Arabic first. بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل هو الله أحد الله الصمد لم يلد ولم يولد ولم يكن له كفوا أحد. In the name of God, the merciful, the most gracious, say that God is one. قل هو الله أحد لم يلد قل هو الصمد, the absolute, the eternal. He does not beget, nor is he begotten, and there is none like unto him. There are none in the world that like unto him or in creation. And so we have our belief too. And if I were to say, okay, well, I believe that. I believe he can't be begotten. They believe he's got a son. Why am I sitting with these people? They're idol worshipers and so on and so forth. That's not the truth. So our answer to this is we are cousins in faith, okay? You are Ahl al-Kitab. You are the family of the book. You believed in the prophets before us. You believed in the books and the scriptures. You believed in the hereafter and so on and so forth, and the angels. And there's a respect for that belief, and there's a commonality for that belief, and there's a shared spirituality in that belief. And so we have to honor and respect those Christians and Jews that came before us that believe in God. It is the same God. Surprise, surprise. We can get into that later. So some Muslims are as extreme as these Christians and more. Right? And they believe that Christians are this and Jews are that, and we shouldn't do this with them, we shouldn't do that with them. You can never befriend them, and so on and so forth. And I feel for both these people. I feel for both the Christians that are this extreme and the Muslims that are that extreme. And that dialogue, you got to talk, you got to communicate, or else you're not going to understand each other.
Right.
And if you and I both have this compassion and love that we want to share our faith and bring you to the other side, which we both know. I want you to be a Muslim and you want me to be a Christian.
It's true.
So we're not hiding that, folks. But we've learned to understand that we disagree on a lot of these matters, and we get.
But I hold out hope.
Yes, and that's okay. And here's one thing I tell people: I say, actually, I have a fond feeling for those believing Christians who want to share their faith with me because they don't want me to fall into the pit of hell or the hellfire,
Sure.
or they don't want me to be displeasing to God.
Right.
Okay, there's a compassion and a caring, and the Muslims are the same way. Many Muslims have that same feeling. They want to share their faith with Christians because they feel that it's not correct, that God doesn't have a son, and so on and so forth, and God is one. And so that's not so bad that you just want to share your faith because you care. What's bad is if the person is happy in their faith and sincere about it, that you start hating on him, that you start speaking badly about him, that he becomes your enemy or she becomes your enemy, then you're losing track of what God tells you to do. You have your faith, I have my faith, okay? And for me, I say, hey, I'm a Muslim, okay? And you, what do you say?
I say I'm a Christian.
Right. And